Chapter 1, The End of the Consumer Era. History of consumers. For decades, consumers have been the driving force of the market, fueling the economy by purchasing goods and services. However, with technological advancements and changing markets, this paradigm is shifting. Consumer dilemma. As purchasing power grows, consumers are presented with more choices, but these choices do not necessarily lead to greater benefits. Consumption remains an inevitable expense rather than an opportunity for investment. 1. History of consumers. In the modern economic system, the role of consumers has always been the core driving force of the market. Since the Industrial Revolution, increased productivity has led to the mass production of goods and services, making consumers a key part of the economic cycle. In the traditional economic model, consumers meet their needs by purchasing goods and services, thereby driving production and economic growth. To compete for market share, companies constantly enhance product quality, lower production costs, and invest a lot of money in advertising to attract consumers. Over time, consumption behavior has evolved into a lifestyle, especially in the 20th century when consumerism thrived, giving consumption greater social and cultural meaning. People express their identity, status, and even values through purchases. Consumption is no longer just to meet basic needs, but a symbol of life. However, this consumption-centered economic model has gradually exposed its limitations and defects. 2. Consumers' dilemma. In the traditional consumption model, consumers are often in a passive position. They meet their needs by purchasing goods and services, but these consumption behaviors are often just one-time expenditures and do not bring them long-term economic returns. With the development of globalization and digital economy, consumers are faced with more and more choices, but these choices have not really changed the situation of consumers. First, the increase in purchasing power has not brought about a corresponding increase in wealth. Although consumers can enjoy more goods and services, these consumption behaviors do not create wealth for them. On the contrary, continued consumption often leads to increased financial pressure, especially in today's era of credit consumption. Many consumers fall into the trap of overconsumption and debt accumulation. Secondly, the rewards of consumption behavior are not obvious. In the traditional business model, consumers can only obtain goods or services through consumption, and these consumption behaviors do not bring them additional economic returns. Although some businesses have launched loyalty programs or rebate activities, these rewards are often insignificant and it is difficult to truly change the economic situation of consumers. Furthermore, consumers have limited influence in the market. Although consumers are the driving force of market demand, their consumption behavior does not directly affect the operation of the market. Enterprises guide consumers' choices through market research and advertising, but consumers themselves cannot directly participate in the decision-making process of production and supply chain. This asymmetric market relationship puts consumers in a passive position in the entire economic system. 3. Demands of the new era, from consumers to consumerchant. With the development of digital and blockchain technology, the market is gradually moving toward decentralization, and the role of consumers is changing. The core of this change is that consumers are no longer just buyers of goods and services, they are starting to participate in the market ecosystem and becoming consumerchant. The emergence of consumerchant is a subversion of the traditional consumption model. In this model, consumers are not only participants in consumption behavior, but also creators of business opportunities. Through their own consumption behavior, they can not only meet their own needs, but also obtain economic returns through sharing and recommendation. In this model, consumption behavior is no longer a simple expenditure, but an investment behavior that can generate economic benefits. The F2C blockchain payment system is designed based on this concept. In this system, every consumer's consumption behavior will be transformed into an investment opportunity. When the transaction is completed, the consumer will not only get the goods he purchased, but the system will also automatically convert part of the merchant's profit into a certain cryptocurrency, such as SUI coin, used as an example in this book and not as investment advice, and distribute these SUI coins to consumers, merchants, recommenders and other related parties. This approach not only enhances the economic returns for consumers but also encourages greater participation in the ecosystem, fostering the growth of the entire market. 4. Conclusion. The traditional consumer era is gradually coming to an end, replaced by a new era with consumers at the core. In this new era, consumers are no longer passive market participants, but have become creators and beneficiaries of business opportunities. Through the consumer model, consumption behavior is transformed into investment, and consumers can realize wealth appreciation while satisfying their own needs. This new market model will completely change our traditional cognition of consumption and investment, and bring new impetus to future economic development.